My wife became pregnant with another man's child. My wife carried another man's child under my roof. But it wasn't the pregnancy that destroyed me. It was what she did to make it happen. I married Lisa 6 years ago, believing she was my soulmate. The kind of person who'd wake up at 3 in the morning to help you through a crisis. The kind who'd laugh at your terrible jokes and make you feel like the luckiest man alive. We built our life in a quiet suburban neighborhood where children rode bikes on sidewalks and neighbors waved from their porches. 3 kids, 2 of them twins. Our house filled with the chaos of parenthood. Diapers, bedtime stories, sticky fingerprints on every surface. Those early years felt like safety, like we'd created something unshakable. I remember coming home from work on a Tuesday evening in March 2024, just before everything changed. The scent of dinner cooking, Lisa's laugh echoing from the kitchen, our oldest trying to build a tower with wooden blocks in the living room, the twins cooing in their playpen. She'd greet me with that smile, the one that made my chest tighten, and complain about the twins refusing their afternoon nap. I'd kiss her forehead, hold her close, and think, this is what happiness looks like. We talked about the future constantly, saving for a bigger house, planning a 10th anniversary trip to Italy, watching our kids graduate, get married, give us grandchildren. Lisa would curl up beside me on the couch, her head on my shoulder, and whisper about growing old together, about sitting on this same couch decades from now, gray-haired and content. I believed every word. I had no idea that within months I'd be sitting across from her in a courtroom, watching her cry while a judge dismantled our marriage. Everything changed on a Thursday night in October. We were on the couch watching some forgettable late-night comedy show. Lisa scrolled through her phone, distracted. I noticed her glancing at me every few minutes, the way she did when she had something big to say. Something she knew I wouldn't like. My stomach knotted. I muted the TV. "What's going on? You look serious." She set down her phone, smoothed the dark strand of hair behind her ear. "Grant, there's something I've decided to do." That word, decided. Not something we need to discuss or I want to talk about. She'd already made up her mind. I'm going to be Sarah's surrogate. I blinked. "What do you mean?" "Sarah can't have a baby." Lisa's voice was steady, rehearsed. "She's been through multiple IVF cycles. Nothing's worked. The doctor suggested a surrogate, and because Sarah and I have the same DNA, I'm practically the perfect candidate." She paused. My heart was hammering now. I've already spoken to the clinic. For a second, I thought she was joking. When I saw no hint of a smile, my hands went cold. "You've already?" I swallowed hard. "Lisa, are you telling me you're carrying Kevin's child?" "Sarah's child and Kevin's child. It would be their embryo. Genetically, I'm just the carrier." Just the carrier. Like it was nothing. Like her body wasn't involved. Like our marriage wasn't about to implode. "And when did you decide all this?" My jaw was so tight it hurt. "Without telling me?" She raised her chin. "I knew you'd freak out. This was a decision I made because Sarah's my twin, and I can't stand seeing her miserable. Kevin and I talked about it extensively. I'm certain it's what I want to do." "Kevin and you talked about it extensively." I repeated the words slowly, feeling something hot and ugly coil in my gut. "That's great. Meanwhile, I'm your husband, and I found out last. Do you have any idea how I feel?" Her eyes flashed with exasperation. Grant, I'm sorry, but it's my body. I'm doing this with or without your permission. I hoped you'd support me. Yes, I should have told you sooner, but I knew you'd try to stop me. This is too important. I could barely speak. My throat was so tight with fury I thought I might choke. So that's it. You're telling me to accept a pregnancy that isn't mine? To watch you carry another man's child under our roof? And you think I'll just smile and clap my hands? Lisa crossed her arms. You can call it what you want, but this is happening. Sarah and Kevin are counting on me. If you really love me, you'll respect that. Respect. The word hung between us like a grenade. You don't show respect by blindsiding your husband with a choice that impacts our marriage, I said, my voice low and dangerous. You're not just making decisions about your body. You're making decisions about our family. She stood, fists clenched. Stop acting like you're the victim. Sarah is family too. I'm saving her. If you can't see that, then maybe I've overestimated you all these years. Overestimated me. Lisa, if you go through with this, it's going to tear us apart. She moved past me, shoulders rigid. Then maybe we're not as strong as I believed. I sat there alone, my heart pounding so hard I could hear blood rushing in my ears. The quiet house pressed down on me, thick with the aftershock of her announcement. Everything had changed. And I knew right then that I would never forgive her. The days after that conversation were a blur of tension and disbelief. Lisa acted like she told me about a dentist appointment, casual, matter-of-fact, moving forward as if my consent didn't matter. She talked openly about doctor's appointments, fertility medications, implantation schedules. Each mention was a hammer blow. I came home 2 evenings later to find a box from a fertility clinic in our fridge. Vials of medication, syringes, instructions scattered across the kitchen table. Lisa was flipping through a thick packet of papers. "What is all this?" I asked sharply. She glanced at me. "Hormone treatments. I need to start them so my body will be ready for the embryo transfer. The clinic sent them earlier than expected." I stared at her in disbelief. "You didn't think this warranted a conversation?" She shrugged. "I already told you, we're past conversations. I'm moving forward." My voice came out low, tight. "You're ignoring my feelings in this. You don't care that you're pushing me away, do you?" She rolled her eyes. "Stop being melodramatic. It's 9 months, and then I hand the baby over to Sarah. It's not like I'm replacing our children. This is to help my sister." "You can rationalize it all you want," I muttered. "But if you do this, I promise you, I'm not staying in this marriage." She looked up, her gaze steely. "Grant, you're free to leave if your pride can't handle my decision." Pride. "This has nothing to do with pride," I said, my face burning. "It has everything to do with partnership. You completely blindsided me. You talked about it with Kevin." "So what if I talk to Kevin?" she demanded, her voice rising. "He's the father of the embryo. He needed to be part of the discussion." I let out a mirthless laugh. "And I'm the husband you took vows with. Or is that irrelevant now?" She picked up the papers again, effectively dismissing me. "We're done here, Grant." I stood there, an ache spreading through my chest. She wouldn't even see the damage she was doing. My fingers twitched with the urge to rip those fertility papers from her hands and tear them apart. But I didn't. I turned on my heel and left her to her new project. That night, lying awake in bed while Lisa slept beside me or pretended to sleep, I made a decision. If she insisted on forging this path alone, then so be it. I'd file for divorce. Because no matter how I twisted it, I couldn't stand to watch her belly grow with Kevin's child. When Lisa found out I'd contacted a lawyer, she stormed into the living room where I was helping our oldest with homework. Fury radiated off her. "How dare you?" she hissed, keeping her voice low so our child wouldn't hear. I set down the crayon, told my kid to stay put, and guided Lisa into the hallway. "Lower your voice," I said. "I don't want the kids hearing our fights." She glared at me, tears in her eyes, tears of anger, not sadness. "So you thought it was acceptable to rush to a lawyer and start divorce proceedings?" My chest burned. "I told you what would happen if you went forward without me, and you did it anyway. I'm done being disregarded." She shook her head. "Grant, we can fix this. I'll delay the procedure. We'll go to counseling." "You already started the hormone treatments," I interrupted. "You already made appointments. You've already told Sarah and Kevin it's happening. This isn't about delaying. You've made your choice." "But I love you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Then you should have thought about that before you decided Kevin's opinion mattered more than mine." She reached for my hand. I pulled away. "Please," she said, "don't do this." "You did this, Lisa, not me." I walked away before she could see my hands shaking. The next few weeks were hell. Lisa went ahead with the embryo transfer in early November. She came home that afternoon, pale and quiet, and went straight to our bedroom. I stayed downstairs with the kids, reading them stories, pretending everything was fine. She emerged hours later, eyes red. "It's done." I nodded. "I'm filing the paperwork tomorrow." Her face crumpled. "You're really doing this?" "You gave me no choice." She moved toward me, but I stepped back. The distance between us felt like miles. "I hate you for this," she whispered. "I hate what you've done to us," I replied. 2 weeks later, she took a pregnancy test. It came back positive. She stood in the bathroom doorway holding the little plastic stick, tears streaming down her face. But they weren't tears of joy. They were tears of loss. Because she knew she'd destroyed us. "I'm pregnant," she said, her voice hollow. "Congratulations," I said flatly. "I'm sure Sarah and Kevin will be thrilled." "Grant, I have nothing else to say to you, Lisa." I walked past her and locked myself in the guest bedroom. That became my room from then on. Over the next months, I watched her body change. The swell of her belly, the way she'd press her hand to her stomach when she thought no one was looking. Sarah and Kevin visited constantly, fussing over her, bringing her prenatal vitamins and fancy pillows. I avoided them all. Lisa tried to talk to me several times. She'd knock on the guest bedroom door late at night, whispering apologies through the wood. I never answered. Our children sensed something was wrong. Our oldest asked why Mommy and Daddy didn't sleep in the same room anymore. I told them sometimes grown-ups need space. They seemed to accept it, but I saw the confusion in their eyes. In March, 5 months into the pregnancy, Lisa received the court summons. The divorce was officially in process. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at the papers, her hands trembling. "This is really happening," she said. "You made your choice," I replied. "Now you live with it." She looked up at me, her eyes filled with desperation. "I'll stop the surrogacy. I'll tell Sarah I can't do it anymore." "It's too late for that." "It's not too late," she said, her voice rising. "I can make this right." "You can't undo what you've done, Lisa. You forged my signature on the clinic consent forms. You spent our money without permission. You lied to me for weeks." Her face went white. "How did you?" "I have a good lawyer," I said coldly. "One who knows how to find evidence." She stood, the chair scraping against the floor. "You went through my files? You went behind my back for months. Don't talk to me about invasion of privacy." She pressed her hand to her belly, as if protecting the baby from my words. "I did what I thought was right. And I'm doing what I know is right. We're done." I left her standing there, one hand on her pregnant stomach, the other gripping the divorce papers. As the months crawled by, I built a wall around myself. I focused on our 3 children. I hired a lawyer who didn't pull punches. I documented everything. Every lie Lisa told, every time she prioritized Sarah and Kevin over our marriage, every dollar she spent without my consent. By June, she was 8 months pregnant and living in the house like a ghost. We barely spoke. She'd leave me notes about the kids' schedules. I'd respond via text. Our home became a war zone of silence. Sarah and Kevin were ecstatic about the impending birth. They'd set up a nursery at their house, painted it yellow, bought tiny clothes and toys. Lisa would show me pictures on her phone, trying to get me to care. I'd look at the screen for exactly 2 seconds, then walk away. "Don't you feel anything?" she asked one evening, her voice desperate. "I feel plenty," I said. "None of it involves that baby." She started crying. I didn't comfort her. The baby was born on July 12th, a healthy boy, 7 pounds, 6 ounces. I wasn't there. Lisa called me from the hospital sobbing. "Grant, please come. I need you." "Call Sarah," I said, and hung up. 3 days later, she came home with the baby. Sarah wasn't well enough to take him immediately. Something about postpartum complications. I didn't ask. So Lisa kept him for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of a crying infant in our house. 2 weeks of hell. I moved into the guest bedroom permanently and locked the door every night. One evening, she knocked. Soft, tentative. "Grant, can we talk?" "No." "Please, I'm struggling with postpartum depression. I care about our children," I interrupted through the door. "Not about the baby that's biologically Kevin's, and not about your postpartum issues that you invited. You made this bed, Lisa. Lie in it." Silence. Then her voice, shaking with rage and sorrow. "You'll regret it." "You've said that before," I replied. "The only regret here is that we're in this mess at all." She finally took the baby to Sarah a week later. Our house fell quiet again. But the damage was done. The final court date was set for August 15th. Lisa moved out the week before, taking the baby to her mother's house until Sarah was ready. She packed in a hurry, boxes clattering, tears sliding down her cheeks. Our children asked if Mommy was leaving for good. She tried to reassure them, but sadness weighed on their little faces. The day she left, she stood in the foyer, the baby carrier at her feet, a small suitcase in her hand. "One last time, Grant," she said, eyes rimmed red. "I'm asking you not to do this. Don't finalize the divorce. I'll find a way to fix things. Please." I felt a strange tug in my chest, but I let it pass. "Fix things by turning back time," I said quietly. "Because that's the only way. You can't undo what you did." A tear rolled down her cheek. "I never imagined I'd lose you." "I just wanted to help Sarah." "Well, you helped Sarah, and in the process, you torched our marriage. Goodbye, Lisa." She swallowed hard, picked up the baby carrier, and left. The door shut behind her with a soft click that seemed to reverberate through the empty house. I closed my eyes, letting out a shaky breath. For the first time in months, I felt something close to relief. We were nearly at the end. On August 15th, I walked into that courtroom with my lawyer. Lisa sat at another table with hers. Kevin and Sarah were in the gallery, wearing identical expressions of apprehension. The judge was a stern-faced woman who'd reviewed all the documents. Lisa's lawyer gave a tearful speech about how she was abandoned while pregnant and how I was emotionally abusive. My lawyer presented a careful timeline. Lisa made the surrogacy decision without my consent. She spent marital funds on the procedure. She forged my signature on consent forms. I repeatedly communicated my refusal and set clear boundaries. She ignored all of it. When the judge spoke, her tone was clipped and professional. She found Lisa's actions to be in blatant disregard of marital partnership. She recognized that the baby was not mine, so I had no financial or parental obligations. Regarding spousal support, she saw no reason I should pay, especially given Lisa's misuse of funds. The judge awarded me primary custody of our 3 children. Lisa received visitation rights provided she could prove a stable environment. And lastly, Lisa was ordered to repay part of the misused marital funds. As the judge delivered her ruling, Lisa's face crumpled. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She covered her mouth with one hand, shoulders shaking. Kevin and Sarah exchanged stricken looks. I felt my own heart thudding hard in my chest. But mostly, I felt vindicated. My revenge was complete. I had walked away from the wife who betrayed me, and the law backed me. We stepped into the hallway outside the courtroom. Lisa approached, eyes swollen. "Grant," she whispered, voice trembling, "I never wanted it to come to this. I'm sorry. I truly am. I made a mistake, but I never thought you'd cut me off like this." I gazed at her, remembering the nights I'd pleaded with her not to do it, her dismissive retorts, her arrogance. "You decided to put Kevin and Sarah's needs before ours," I said quietly. "And you lied about it. That's more than a mistake. It destroyed us." She let out a ragged breath. "I just wish you could forgive me someday." My stare remained cold. "You forged my signature. You refused to listen when I begged you not to do this. Forgiveness doesn't come that cheap." I paused at the courtroom doors, looking back at her one last time. "Goodbye, Lisa." Sarah drifted closer, trying to place a hand on my arm. "Grant, don't you see? She's remorseful. She did it for me." I jerked my arm away. "You got what you wanted, Sarah. That baby is yours now. You can deal with the fallout. You and Kevin can support Lisa if you think she deserves it." I looked at all 3 of them standing there, Kevin, Sarah, and my ex-wife. "I'm done." They stood speechless as I headed for the exit. The corridor felt brighter as I walked away, as if a crushing weight had been lifted. But there was still more to this story. More consequences, more karma, more of Lisa's world crumbling around her. And in the weeks that followed, I watched it all unfold. I watched her realize exactly what she'd lost, and I felt no pity, because she'd made her choice. Now she could live with it. The fallout was immediate and devastating. Not for me, for her. The weeks after the final decree were a masterclass in consequences. Lisa moved in with her mother, the baby still with her until Sarah fully recovered from her postpartum complications. Whenever I saw Lisa during custody exchanges of our 3 kids, she looked frail, regretful. She'd ask how the children were doing, and I'd answer politely but kept my distance. She'd cast forlorn glances at me, as if expecting some sign of tenderness. I offered none. Because here's what she didn't understand. I wasn't just angry about the surrogacy. I was angry about every single lie that came with it. Every dismissal of my feelings. Every time she chose Kevin's opinion over mine. Every time she made me feel like I didn't matter in my own marriage. The truth was, Lisa had shown me exactly who she was, and I believed her. Kevin and Sarah eventually took the baby in September, about a month after the divorce was finalized. They held a small welcome home gathering at their house. Lisa invited me via text. I didn't respond. I heard through the grapevine that the celebration was awkward. Lisa spent most of the time in Sarah's guest room, crying. Kevin and Sarah were too focused on their new baby to comfort her. She'd done this grand, selfless thing, and it left her completely alone. By October, the financial reality started hitting Lisa hard. The judge had ordered her to repay $8,400 in marital funds she'd used for the surrogacy without my permission. That's $8,400 she didn't have because Lisa had been a part-time administrative assistant before the surrogacy. Her income was modest at best. She asked her parents for help. They gave her $2,000 and told her that was all they could spare. She asked Sarah and Kevin. They said they were strapped for cash themselves. Kevin's hours at his job had been cut, and Sarah's medical bills from the IVF cycles and postpartum complications were piling up. The irony was delicious. Lisa had sacrificed our marriage to help them, and now they couldn't help her. She texted me in early November. "Grant, I'm struggling to make the court-ordered payments. Can we work something out?" I replied, "That sounds like a you problem. Figure it out." She called me. I didn't answer. She showed up at the house during a custody exchange, asking to talk for just 5 minutes. I told her we had nothing to discuss beyond our children's schedules. "I'm drowning," she said, her voice breaking. "I can't afford rent and I'm behind on the payments to you. I need help." I looked at her, really looked at her. The dark circles under her eyes, the way her clothes hung looser on her frame, the desperation written across her face, and I felt nothing. "You made a choice, Lisa. This is the consequence." "But I did it for family." "No," I interrupted, my voice flat. "You did it because you didn't respect me. You did it because you thought you could bulldoze over my boundaries and I'd just accept it. You were wrong." She stared at me, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Your apology doesn't change anything." I closed the door. By December, Lisa had lost her apartment. She moved back in with her mother permanently. Our kids would come home from visits there and tell me about how Grandma's house was really small and how Mom seemed sad all the time. I'd nod and ask if they were okay. They always said yes because kids are resilient like that. But I could see the worry in their eyes. One evening in January, my oldest, who was 7 now, asked me a question that made my chest tighten. "Dad, do you still love Mom?" I paused, kneeling beside them while they played with Legos. "I care about her because she's your mother, but sometimes grown-ups change and they break trust." They seemed to accept it, returning to their little plastic bricks. The matter resolved in their mind. Kids can be so direct. It's one reason I love them fiercely. There's no pretense, no hidden agenda, just honesty. Around this time, I started hearing more rumors about Sarah and Kevin. Apparently, having a newborn wasn't the fairy tale they'd imagined. Kevin was working longer hours to cover their bills, which meant Sarah was home alone with the baby most of the time. She was exhausted, overwhelmed, and, according to mutual friends, not handling it well. They'd stopped inviting Lisa over. The baby had colic and screamed for hours every night. Sarah was resentful that Lisa had given her a difficult baby, as if genetics worked that way. Kevin was resentful about the financial strain. The perfect family Lisa had sacrificed everything for was falling apart, and she had a front-row seat to watch it crumble. In February, Lisa sent me an email, a long, rambling email full of regrets. She talked about how she never foresaw Kevin's unreliability and how Sarah's ongoing health issues meant she couldn't help her financially or emotionally. She mentioned that being a surrogate hadn't truly helped anyone in the end. It just created more chaos, she wrote. I replied with 2 sentences. "I'm glad you've realized that. Please only contact me regarding our children's schedules." She didn't respond. But a week later, I got a call from Sarah. "Grant, we need to talk." I almost hung up. But curiosity got the better of me. About what? About Lisa. Sarah's voice was tight, strained. She's not doing well. She's depressed, she's broke, and she keeps calling me crying. Kevin and I can't take it anymore. You need to help her." I let out a cold laugh. "I don't need to do anything." "But she's the mother of your children." "And she's the woman who destroyed our marriage," I interrupted. "She made her choice. You got your baby. Deal with the consequences." "That's cruel." "No," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "Cruel was Lisa forging my signature. Cruel was her spending our money without permission. Cruel was her telling me Kevin's opinion mattered more than mine. I'm not being cruel, I'm being fair." Silence on the other end. Then Sarah's voice, quiet and defeated. "I didn't think it would be like this." None of us did. But here we are. I hung up, and I felt nothing but satisfaction. The months turned into a year. By the summer of the following year, Lisa had finally found a stable job, administrative work at a local hospital. Nothing glamorous, but it paid the bills. She was still living with her mother, still making court-ordered payments to me, though she was behind by several months. My kids were doing much better. Once the tension left our house, we fell into a calm rhythm. School days, weekend outings, family movie nights. No more crying baby to wake everyone at midnight. No more silent warfare in the hallways. They asked about their mom sometimes, and I'd answer honestly but gently. "Mom loves you. She's just going through a hard time right now." They'd nod and move on. Kids are adaptable. Meanwhile, Kevin and Sarah's marriage was on the rocks. The baby, who was almost a year old now, was healthy and thriving, but the stress had taken its toll. Kevin had apparently told mutual friends that he resented the whole surrogacy thing, and that Sarah had pushed him into it. Sarah, for her part, was overwhelmed with motherhood and bitter that Lisa wasn't more involved. The perfect family Lisa had envisioned was a disaster, and she had no one to blame but herself. One Saturday in August, Lisa showed up at my door during a non-custody day. She looked different, hair shorter, face gaunt, eyes hollow. "I need to talk to you," she said. "We have nothing to discuss. Please, Grant, just 5 minutes." I sighed, stepping onto the porch and closing the door behind me. 5 minutes. Talk. She took a shaky breath. "I've been in therapy, working through a lot of things, and I need to say this to you. I was wrong. About everything." I crossed my arms, saying nothing. "I thought I was doing something noble," she continued, her voice cracking. "Helping my sister have a baby, being selfless. But I see now that I wasn't selfless at all. I was selfish. I wanted to be the hero. I wanted Sarah and Kevin to worship me for saving them, and I didn't care who I hurt in the process." She wiped at her eyes. "I hurt you. I destroyed our marriage. And for what? Sarah barely talks to me now. Kevin acts like I'm a burden. The baby doesn't even know who I am." I stared at her, my expression neutral. "I don't know what you want me to say, Lisa." "I want you to forgive me," she whispered. "I want you to tell me there's a chance we could—" "No." The word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. Her face crumpled. "But I've changed." "Maybe you have," I said, my voice cold. "But it doesn't matter. You didn't just make one bad decision. You made 1,000 small decisions to lie to me, dismiss me, and prioritize everyone else over me. That's not something you fix with therapy and an apology." "So that's it?" she said, her voice rising. "You're just going to hate me forever?" "I don't hate you, Lisa." I looked her in the eye. "I don't feel anything for you anymore. You're the mother of my children, and I'll be civil for their sake, but that's all you'll ever be to me." She opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. "Your 5 minutes are up." I turned and went back inside, closing the door behind me.
Through the window, I watched her stand there for a long moment, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Then she walked away, and I felt nothing. The following months passed in a blur of normalcy. My kids thrived, I got a promotion at work. I even started dating again. Nothing serious, just casual dinners and movies. It felt good to remember what it was like to be seen, appreciated, and respected. Lisa continued her supervised visits with the kids. She was always polite during exchanges, always asked how they were doing in school. But the spark that had once defined her was gone. She looked like a shell of the woman I'd married. Sometimes I wondered if I should feel guilty about that. I didn't. In November, almost 2 years after the divorce, I got a call from Lisa's mother. "Grant, I need to tell you something." Her voice was serious, almost scared. "What is it?" "Lisa's been struggling, more than I think she lets on. She's been having thoughts." My stomach dropped. "What kind of thoughts?" "Dark thoughts," her mother said quietly. "She's in therapy and she's on medication, but I thought you should know, for the kid's sake." I closed my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. "Is she a danger to herself?" "I don't think so, but she's not in a good place." "Thank you," I said. "I'll keep an eye on things during custody exchanges." After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Did I feel bad for Lisa? A little. Did I regret my choices? Not even for a second. Because here's the truth. Lisa's mental health struggles weren't my fault. They were the consequence of her own actions. She'd bet everything on a surrogacy that destroyed her marriage, alienated her from her sister, and left her financially and emotionally devastated. She'd gambled, and she'd lost. That wasn't on me. By the spring of the following year, things had stabilized.
Lisa's mental health improved with therapy and medication. She was still working at the hospital, still living with her mother, but she seemed more present during custody visits, more engaged with the kids. I was glad for their sake, but it didn't change how I felt about her. One evening in April, I was tucking my youngest into bed when they asked, "Dad, do you think Mom will ever be happy again?" I paused, brushing hair from their forehead. "I hope so, sweetheart. Everyone deserves to be happy." "Even if they make mistakes?" "Especially then," I said softly. "But happiness is something you have to find for yourself. No one can give it to you." They nodded, satisfied, and drifted off to sleep. As I left their room, I thought about those words. Happiness is something you have to find for yourself. I'd found mine, in my kids, in my work, in the quiet peace of a life no longer defined by the trail. Lisa would have to find hers, and that wasn't my responsibility. It's been 3 years now since the divorce was finalized. My kids are older, wiser, more resilient. They see their mom regularly, and while they know things between us aren't perfect, they've accepted it. Lisa is doing better. She moved out of her mother's house and into a small apartment. She's still working at the hospital. She's still in therapy. And she's still single, as far as I know. Sarah and Kevin's marriage survived, barely. The baby is 3 now, a toddler full of energy. Lisa sees him occasionally, but she's more like an aunt than a surrogate mother. The relationship is distant, polite, but not what she'd imagined. As for me, I'm happy. I have my kids, I have my career, I have my freedom, and I have my dignity. People sometimes ask me if I have any regrets, if I think I was too harsh on Lisa, if I should have forgiven her and tried to make it work. My answer is always the same: no. Lisa made a choice that excluded me from one of the most significant decisions in our marriage. She lied to me. She forged my signature. She prioritized her sister's needs over mine. And when I set a boundary, when I said, "If you do this, I'm leaving," she did it anyway. She gambled that I'd stay. She lost. I don't regret walking away. I don't regret the divorce.
I don't regret refusing to save her when she was drowning in the consequences of her own actions. Because in a marriage, respect and honesty are vital. She showed neither. In the end, my revenge wasn't about violence or public humiliation. It was about letting her face every single ramification of her choice alone. I withdrew the support she'd taken for granted. I let her see how stark the world could be when she neglected her husband's trust. The judge saw it my way, and so did life's harsh reality. If you ask me now whether I'd do anything differently, I'll tell you this: I'd do it all again. Because standing up for yourself, refusing to be disrespected, refusing to accept betrayal, isn't cruel. It's necessary. Lisa dealt the first blow by betraying me. I responded by giving her exactly what she asked for: autonomy. No shared finances, no emotional support, no illusions that we'd stay married through a pregnancy I never consented to. And in the end, I got my freedom and my children, while she was left to grapple with the selfless act that shattered our marriage. That's the story of how surrogacy for her sister turned Lisa from my beloved wife into a stranger, and how I found my satisfaction in not saving her from her own choices. If that's cruel, then cruelty was the price of my dignity, and it was a price I was more than willing to pay.